I came on the scene probably in early 2012 because I'd just moved from London and I moved to Perth, and having come from working in a very entrepreneurial, fast-moving marketplace like London to moving to Perth, I'll always remember a recruitment consultant said to me, I said, what do you do here that's digital or tech or software based? And I'll always remember this. He turned to me and said, Dave, we don't do digital. We dig out of the ground. Insert expletive.
To me, a startup community is a network of people who are helping each other get their startups up and running. Maybe people who are investors looking for a good deal. Maybe people who've had an exit from a startup and want to give back. Maybe they've got some money to give back, but at least some advice and mentorship. And then a network of events, accelerators, places, programs around a community like Perth. And you can hit any part of that community like a spider's web, and you will find your way to where you need to be. You'll find the investors. You'll find a tech co-founder. You'll find an investor, an angel group. You'll find a programmer. You'll find a hustler, an entrepreneurial market guy who'll help you with your digital marketing. You'll hit a really good startup community. You'll hit any bit of it, and you will find what you need, right? And I think that's developing quite well in Perth. Not finished, not the main game. I wouldn't say we're a global centre of startups. We're behind Sydney and Melbourne. We're way behind other centres. But we've got a developing community here, which is quite good. So I think what's driven the startup community to what it is today, a few things. And if you look back at September 2012, not only did SpaceCube open, the first co-working space of its kind, on the terrace, I think it was important it was on the terrace. There was already Tech Park in Bentley, part of Curtin Uni, but it was a bit removed from the action, right? So you had SpaceCube opening. You had the first startup weekend where 100 people came and it was packed out, right? You paid $100 for a weekend. They fed and watered you. And people queued up and tickets sold quickly to be able to get up and pitch your one idea for 1 minute. About 40 people got up and pitched. So you've got a mixture of entrepreneurs, creatives, hackers, right? Programmers. On Sunday, I was amazed. I went out on Friday to hear the pitches. I came back Sunday, right? Some of these companies, they hadn't worked on it before, they're not allowed to. They had finished products in the App Store. They had finished websites. Some of them had revenues by Sunday. And I went, holy moly, right? I went back to my day job where I couldn't get anything done. I'm going, Perth's got some pretty cool programmers. But I think all of that could have happened. But I think there's one thing that also happened. In September 2012, people forget this, FMG announced 2,000 redundancies. The market was expecting 1,000. When they announced 2,000, I was at Business News. I remember the day when that was announced. That was like the end of the mining boom. And then more redundancies. Chevron, Woodside, Rio. The end of the mining construction boom. Not the end of mining, but the end of this amazing boom that had taken us through the GFC and kept us growing and kept Australia going. We didn't have a recession unlike the rest of the Western world. You had people coming out, being made redundant with a redundancy check, saying, what do I do now? Oh, look, there's SpaceCube. If I'm ever going to do my startup idea, probably it's going to be now. And I think those things happen together, right? The end of the mining boom, beautifully timed with the creation, quite by chance, I think. I mean, Brodie's pretty good, but I don't think even he knew.
So Brodie McCulloch, Managing Director of Space Cubed. Moved back to Perth about 8 or 9 years ago now, when it was sort of peak of the mining boom, and just saw a big gap in how entrepreneurs were being supported. And it actually came from me wanting to set up a bike share social enterprise in Fremantle, and through that process, sort of just saw how difficult it actually is to start stuff up, and just found, just basic things like connecting in with the community, connecting in with support, accessing mentors, finding people that could move things quickly. It just wasn't prevalent. It was pretty slow to do anything. So when we first opened Space Cubed, the main goal was creating that opportunity and that home for collaboration and entrepreneurs to work together and get those networks of support. And access them easily, open that up and make it visible. Also, there's a lot of work around density and creating density of people and connections to create those bump-in points. So we saw Space Cubed as a space where we could make that happen. It's evolved a lot since then. So we look at sort of the whole ecosystem and how we can support all the different things through meetups, hackathons, accelerators, and then also our different spaces, which some of them are based around themes. So Core, which is mining and energy, Combine, which is ag tech. So all of those different pieces help build that broader ecosystem. Ecosystem probably relates more to just focusing on, there's been some work done around what are the different people and spaces within the ecosystem. I think community takes that to that next level. So you can have an ecosystem where it's just interrelation, interoperability, but community takes it to that person-to-person connection and those stronger bonds where I know if I pick up the phone to say, hey, this startup is looking for funding, then there's people on the other end who know me and trust that I will connect that person in with what they're looking for. So I think it takes it to that next level where it's not transactional. It's about what's the, does everyone sort of work together for that common goal around supporting startups and supporting entrepreneurs? Whereas you can have an ecosystem that just does, it's more transactional. So that's the way I sort of see it. The community piece is around that next level of people-to-people connections that mean that you can get there's much more trust, there's much more sustainability in that as well. And it means that it can last a long time because often that community just keeps growing and there's more and more people willing to give back into that community.
The one thing that you will find with those who go out of their way to kind of share their knowledge and share their experiences is because they're truly passionate about seeing people not make the same mistakes they did, and hopefully helping that person or team or company build that company quicker, faster, access more customers and grow than they did. And I think it's like almost like Moore's law. The quicker we can transfer that knowledge, the faster they'll grow, and we'll hopefully have this perpetual motion where we're going to get more companies, more people, more economic wealth here in WA.
We become a tech centre when people are looking at Perth and going, that's where I want to go and do my startup. Whether in Sydney, Melbourne, Busselton, Geraldton, Tel Aviv, London, what's going on in Perth? Singapore, Shanghai, what is going on in Perth? Why are all these startups coming out of Perth? We need more success stories. So you go Canva, well, okay, that's now in Sydney, but originated in Perth, so I'll take that one. iiNet, $1 billion business, now sold, doesn't exist anymore. Started in Perth 20 years ago. Amcom, sold to Vocus, doesn't exist anymore. $1 billion business though, out of Perth. Then you go Canva, $1 billion business, the only unicorn in Australia came out of Perth. You go, okay, who's next? You go Health Engine, had a $26 million investment last year. Not bad. From Sequoia Capital, right? Silicon Valley Blue Blood, only their second investment ever in Australia. Sector, $6 million raise. Isotana, $8 million raise. Power Ledger, the first ICO, initial coin offering, ever in Australia, right here in Perth, raised $34 million last year. You're going, okay, something's starting to happen. When these become household names, right, I think we need to give it more time. And then the next ones come along as well and become the next Power Ledgers, Health Engines, Isotana, Sector, right? And then you start to go, Okay, something's happening in Perth. And when those founders make their billions and come back to Perth and then reinvest their, not just their money, but their experience and know-how on how to scale up a business, then the wheel starts to turn. But it's only been 6 years since the community. So that's going to take a while. Silicon Valley took a while. That was in the 60s. We're going to do our own version of Silicon Valley here. Call it Lithium Valley, as people are known. I mean, or whatever it is, right? We're going to do it our own way.
There's a talk here in WA specifically around having access to funds and investment, and there's those in the camp that say, no, look, it's really easy to raise money here in WA, and there's those that sit in the camp that say, no, it's actually quite difficult. And I think I would probably at the moment I'm undecided. What I do know is that if I look at the angel side of things, right at the lower ground, a lot of the people that would normally invest in companies here, they're much more inclined to invest in a mining company in WA than they are in a tech startup. I think Justin Starsky gave a really good analogy, which is they're much more comfortable in putting angel money into a company that's going to dig 10 holes on the hope that one is good, versus taking the same money and putting it into 10 startups with the hope that one becomes extremely big. And it's that mindset that we're looking to change. There's recently in the last literally in the last 48 hours, we've seen the launch of a new fund here from the RAC, which is great to see that happening. It's a $3 million fund called Better Labs. We're starting to see more movement, but if you compare what's happening here with over East, the two, it's black and white.
Looking at what's happened in just other states, let alone looking at, Singapore's investing $19 billion into their innovation ecosystem over 4 years. Sydney has got the government's backed a Sydney Startup Hub, and they're creating a bigger precinct there. Queensland's invested, I think the number's up to sort of $700 million now committed to innovation, and that's through industry precincts which drive alignment of government, corporate, and the startup community. So there's a whole range of different projects, and I think Western Australia, we need to look at, well, how are we being aligned and delivering on that? And when I look at sort of what the university is doing, there's pockets of activity, but Curtin's doing projects, UWA is doing projects, we're doing projects. We've got spaces in Port Hedland that we're supporting, and Yanship. There's RAC with Better Labs. So there are individual things happening. The state government, I guess that's the comparison. And understandably we've got a bit of a budget problem, but at the same time, they've committed $16 million over 4 years. But when you compare that to $19 billion, we really need to look at how are we going to compete globally, because that's the playing field now.
Here we are, I think, an amazing place to live, an amazing opportunity. If we're going to be anything beyond just a mining town, it could be a tech centre.